Okay, welcome back, guys. So, carrying on, we're going to import our reference image and begin sculpting on this. But before I do that, I'll need to think. Yeah, like this is fine. Okay. Then I'll think I need to this. Okay. So I need to pull this in here so I can save different views while I bring in my reference image with spotlights. So I'll start by going to spotlights. Okay, before I go to spotlight, I need to increase the resolution for this. So I'll try to get this around 5 to 7 million polygons. Okay, we have 12 now, which is fine. Then we would create a layer for this. Create a layer, and then we'll name this primary forms. Okay. Then we'll start by taking down our resolution. Maybe I'll just pop just put this. Let me adjust the size of this. So by the way, I'm using a software called PRF. This software is a software that allows you to overlay your references on top of your screen. So let me put this, drag this in here. I'm trying to manage my space. Okay. Okay. Then I'll go down to a lower subdivision. Go down to the lower subdivision with the shift D. Go to the lowest subdivision. Drag this here like so. Yeah, this should be fine. Okay. Then I'll open I'll go to my spotlights, import image. I'm going to be using this image here. So the edited version. So this is it here. So I'll start by opening this, and I'll select that image, then use auto spotlight. Make more space in here. Yeah, it's fine. And then hit Z on your keyboard. So we're going to try to match up our reference with this. So prefer to use a different material for this so I can easily match my reference. Let me adjust the opacity of this reference. Okay, so this part is really tricky, so you have to be really careful with this while you try to match the reference to the image. This is really tricky. You have to be really careful. Can't see the highlight very much. Let me try something like this. Okay, I think this is better. This will help me match this up as closely as I can. Okay, yeah, this is pretty much close enough. Pretty much close enough. Okay, so now that I have this in here, I would go to click in here, store cam. I'll name this front cam. So it's saved now, as you can see, it's saved. Then now I have the eyes properly aligned to this. As close as I can get this to be aligned. So now go back to matte cap material. I'll go to my, let me see, I'll go to my move tool. Oh, wrong tool, go to my move tool. Okay, let me try the move topological tool. Okay, so I can easily switch back to my front view easily with this switch. I can switch back to my front view. Ctrl Z. Okay, okay. So now I can begin to push things in place. You always want to check this from other view to be sure if you're doing the right thing. So another thing you can do is to try and match the lighting, to the face. Okay. So I need to adjust this. Okay, so let's match. Okay, let's see which other part of the head we can match. So let's fill this forehead up. Okay, turn off the lazy mouse on this. Put this in here. Take down the intensity. Hold the Alt key, kind of carve out. Let's see what we have. Okay, hold the Alt key and then carve out something in here. Okay, just blocking out most of the shapes. Whichever shape we see in here, we'll just block those out. Let me change this to permanently remove topological brush tool. Okay, so you need to spend a lot of hours on this before you begin to get something close to the reference. At least for me, that's what I do. So I'm trying to be really careful in here. Using this as my reference, I'm trying to create this arc shape in here. Making sure the camera is in the right place. Then I will carve something in there with my standard brush. Okay, I'll use the smooth brush to kind of slowly blend that back in. Also need to carve out the nose bridge, this nose bridge, because if you look at another angle, if you look at a different angle on our model, or on the reference rather, okay, especially on this, you can see some kind of nose bridging here, so we need to carve out the definition of that nose on our model. As you can see, it's kind of flat in here. It feels kind of flat in here, so you need to carve those out. So you have to stay true to the reference image as much as possible on this stage. Though there's some issues with the see some issues down here because the jawline is not supposed to look like this. So you need to fix that. Yeah. Maybe while I'm here, I can just gently. You have to be really gentle on this. Look for a reference image. Look for a reference image for that jawline. As you can see, let me look for a good reference image on this jawline for a female. You can see how smoothly arced it is. So we need to kind of unlike that of a male is more angular. You can see it's more angular for that of a male. It's more angular for that of a male, but for a female we need to give some kind of smooth transition. So in this part of my model, you can see this is the portion that has this is the portion that has an issue. It's not kind of blend. It's not blending in. It's not blending in properly. So I'll try to. I've already gotten the movement for this portion. I just need to make this blend in properly. So I can use the reference image of a model to kind of do that. Kind of find the angle. Kind of find that angle. You can see this is part we're having an issue. Now this part in the reference image in our model is not looking too good, so we need to fix this here. Kind of create that angular kind of feeling, but it won't be too sharp. So first of all, let's kind of carve out something in there, like a guide. This we just take down the intensity for that. Carve something out there, smooth that out. We still need to fix some things in here also, but for now let's just use edge polish to kind of smooth that out. Then going back in here, I think okay. Going back in here, I will have to be really gentle, really gentle on this, and just carve out something like this, something like this. Smooth this out a bit more. Smooth this out a bit more. Okay. Then we'll compare that to our reference image. Our reference image is not really giving us the reference image we're using for the front view is not really giving us that all the way to the angle close to the ear. It's not really giving us what we need, what we need in that region. It's just giving us just it kind of cuts out in this part. This is the only part we can see. Now this part here we can't really see that much. So we're going to kind of go in between using accurate anatomical references to kind of figure out what is actually happening in the, what is actually happening in there, and blend that with our original reference image. So that's like basically what you'll be doing for the most part. Compare your accurately anatomical image reference with that of your realistic image reference for the likeness you're trying to create. So okay, trying to okay. So if we should go out of this view, there's some kind of depth. Let's use this view instead. There's some kind of depth in here. There's a depth in here. So I'll just kind of softly need to take this out. So I'll just kind of softly create that depth in here with my standard brush. Gently create that depth in here. Okay. feels a bit too angular, but let's just soften that out. Soften that out. We'll still work a bit more on the job, but for now, let's keep correcting some regions of the face. Now this part feels a bit too sharp, so let's smooth this out a bit. You need to be really gentle on that smooth brush, really gentle on the smooth brush, so you don't create sharp angles when you smooth out. You still need those angles, but it shouldn't be too harsh. So back to this. So it's not, there's no rule that says that you must be on just one part of the face, or just one particular aspect of the reference, and just work on that only. This is a 3D model. You need to be going around the model to see if everything is working correctly. So holding notes, I'm going to kind of carve out something like this in here, something like this in here. Then I'm going to mark that out also. After carving it inside, I still need to mark out. I'll still need to mark out. As you can see, there's a sharp line in here. I'll still need to mark out a line to kind of make the nose look more angular. Though not like that of a stylized character, but you still need to catch. Let me kind of test this brush to see if let me increase the intensity a bit more. Let's see. Okay. Okay, yeah, you can see from this view, you can see it properly now. If I were to go back, see it's lost, but bringing that back, you can see the angle I'm trying to create in there. So the angular shape I'm trying to create in there. So based on the lighting on that particular angle, you'll be able to see the sharp corners or almost smooth sharp corners in there. So from this angle now, with the light source from this angle, you don't really see that sharp line, almost sharp line on the nose bridge, but with some shadow in there now you can see it. So like I said, for a human character, for a human face character, or you're trying to sculpt, you need to be really careful with how you draw those lines on the face. You need to be really careful, or if you're not careful enough, you might just mess up the entire likeness or the organicness of the human face. So you need to be kind of harsh and gentle at the same time. If you get what I mean. So I'm not really fast sculptor, because I try as much to be as careful as possible on the model, as careful as I can be. Okay, so let me start by carving in this center part of the lips. Okay, I'm just being really, 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 really gentle on this, very gentle as much as I can. And let me carve out the lining of the lips. I think I'll need a more harder brush for this. Let's see. Okay, take the brush down a bit more. Go back to my reference and kind of let me increase the intensity of the brush a bit, so can yes, okay, so can cover that line properly. Okay, should work. Then look for another angle to this and kind of look for a anatomical reference to kind of guide us. Kind of guide us. Something like this should work just fine. So that thickness goes all the way into almost into the crevices of the lip. So we're going to carve those out. We're going to carve that out. So I have to be really gentle on this. Since that's a really harsh line, I don't want something that is too harsh. And we're not getting the angles on this properly. There's a curve. Let me think I'll need my move brush to kind of get that angle. I'll need my move brush to get that angle. Need my move brush to get that angle. Just the center line, we just push this down a bit more. Okay, and go to the edge and raise this up a bit. Okay, that's fine. We also need to carve this out. Let's carve out the bottom part of the lips. I think we need to use the move brush to kind of drag our lips to that angle. Okay, then we can use to sharp. Take that down a bit more. Don't be afraid to go over it a few more times until you get what you're looking for. Okay, so I have that now. I think mine is too wide, supposed to be smaller than that. So let's go like so. Let me see if I can use a sharper brush for this. Let me use the damn standard brush for this. Let's see. I think we need more polygons to really capture that. Need more polygons to really capture that. Let me increase the polygons a bit more and try to capture that. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we have something in there now. So we have something in there now that we can work with. So it goes like so. Okay. Okay, okay, it should work for now. It should work for now. Then you can see another angle on the nose bridge. So I'll try to carve those in. But let me show you guys a reference for that, so you guys are aware of what I'm trying to do in here. So let me see if I can find a better reference for just the nose. Okay, this is a better reference for just the nose. As you can see, I'm trying. We already have we've already established this angle. We established that already. So we're going to kind of establish another angle, which is this part in here. So we need to establish that right now. And is that angle we can find. Let's use the original image. Is that angle we can find in here. So if I should zoom in properly so you can see this angle here. Trying to find this angle here. You can see how from the reference image that angle actually connects back to the tip of the nose. So it goes around like so, goes around like so. So it goes around. So for this I'm going to be doing something like this. But the forms are a bit more organic than this, but we just need something to just give us a shape or like an assumption of what we're going to work with later on, like a landmark for the nose. So going like this all the way to the tip of the nose, almost to the back of the tip of the nose, actually. So I'm going to be really gentle on this, making sure we're using the. Okay, we need to take this down. Shift D. We need to take down. Yes, we need to take down our resolution again. Then with the reference image, we'll kind of holding notes, kind of carve this out. We should already have something in there. It's not very obvious, but it's in there. So let's just accentuate that shape a bit more. So you have to be careful of those angles, very important. So let's find a good angle on this. So something like this. Okay. So if there we have other reference images that we can use to have a closer look at that is this. So you can see we have something. So now we have like we have like a bump here, and another bump here. So if we were to create those bump, we can still use our standard brush and kind of create a bump around here like so. So you have to be really careful in there. So smooth those back in. Then we have like another bump in the center like this. Smooth that back in. Kind of okay. So you have to be really light-handed on this, if not you'll be creating exaggerated shapes that do not look realistic. You can use other brush to kind of do this properly. You can just okay. Now you need to zoom out. You need to zoom out as far, not too far, but far enough so you can get an idea of the size of what you just sculpted in. So I'll gently smooth that back in. I don't want I don't want you to have edges that are too sharp. Okay. So let's look for another reference of the nose. See, now we have a really good angle here. This is a good angle. This is a good angle in here. We're not supposed to spend too much time on this node so we don't get lost in creating too much details that becomes harder for us to control later on. But I'm just trying to block things in as much as I can. So I'm using the maybe I should, okay, let's try something. Let's try and get that form from the reference itself. So instead of using our clay tool, we can use our move tool. We can actually use our move tool to kind of push those out, slightly push those out. Now you might not be able to see much in here, but go out when I go out of this, if I should undo, you can see that subtle change we made. So I can now, and one thing you need to be really careful with likeness is the distance. Now we're just using our eyes to kind of figure out the distance from here, from tip of the nose to the back of the to this line here, like using this our guide in here, using our guide. We're trying to figure out where that should be. So you have to be really careful, because if you make it too much, it begins to spoil your likeness. So you have to be really careful with that. This is my standard brush. Let me use this from this angle because this is the angle we have. Some fat padding here. So punch punch that in and kind of smooth that out a bit. Then kind of think we need our clay brush for this. So please be careful of the distance. Shouldn't be too much. Kind of punch something in. I'll zoom out to get an angle of that. Looking good, but the distance looks too far. Distance is kind of too far. Punch more in, then smooth this back in. So I'll smooth this back in so we have a smoother transition in there. Now the fun part about smoothing this back in is when you, or rather the fun part about creating all this landmark is after creating all this landmark, when you add more subdivision to this, you begin to see the beauty of the organic human face coming out in the model. So in this part, you need to be really you need to be really patient with the model. So and carefully carve out some things. I feel like I'm going too far away from our reference already. So let's go back to our reference and begin to carve out some major landmark on this. So major landmark with the reference. Okay. What else can we find in here? So we have, so we need to like carve out the brows properly in here. Need to carve out the brows. Now, while you're working with the left eye, because obviously the human eyes are not perfectly symmetrical, so for now we'll only be focusing on the left eye. Only focusing on the left eye. Then when we break symmetry, we're going to use the reference to kind of make it look more asymmetrical. But for now, let's just stick with the reference. Now I need to properly carve out the eye bag. So I'm going to use my standard brush again. and gently carve out the eyebrows. Now the eye the eye is a very important part of the facial likeness of this of any model, so you need to be really careful with that. I think what I should do first to use my dem standard brush, kind of carve out that line. Let's see. You need to cover that carve out that line as much as possible. Let's see what we have. Yeah, I think this looks good. Let's just see if we can go in there and then make it more pronounced, following that guide we created already. Make it more pronounced. Then we're trying to make that more pronounced. Let's go back to the references we have here and try to make sure the structures of that eye, following our anatomy references, is good. So you can see how we're trying to create this. So you can see how it goes around back into the corner of the eye. So following that as a guide and looking at my reference image also, I'll need to establish that too. Let me look, let me look for another reference image. So let's use the actual one we're using here for this. Okay. Then carve this in. Look at this from the other angle. Look at the shadow in there to see if we overdid it. Okay, we did not overdo it, but let's just smooth that out a bit more. Now I've established this landmark in here. I've established that. Another landmark we need to establish is this one down here underneath the eye bag. So which is this particular aspect of the eyes. So let's establish this. So going back to our reference again, front view. Now very important, we need to store this view. We need to save this. Okay, this one is already saved. So what we actually need to save is our spotlights. So we use save spotlight. So in case we come back open this file again, we can always bring out the reference image and to be in the exact position, because you don't want to mess with that. If you mess with that, man, it's going to be giving you a lot of issue trying to match that up, especially when we have made a lot of changes on it. So I'm going to save this as I've named this front spotlight. I'll click save and that. Okay, that's fine. So now we're trying to establish the second landmark, which is, so we're more or less working on like half of the face, which is like the left hand side of the face, majorly the left hand side of the face. So with a dem standard brush again, let's mark out the other part of the face. So the other region of the face is more or less here, is here around the eye sockets, is more or less here. It's not really this part here. This part here is more like she's tired or something. Because if we compare that to the other references, it's not so much in the other references, but the part you can actually see, let's look for a better reference for this. Yes, this is a good reference for this. We're trying to carve out something that goes around from here all the way, here. So we're going to be using our accurate anatomical references to kind of get a better view of how that shape is supposed to be. We always go back making reference to, always going back to make reference to uh, the going back to our accurate anatomical references to kind of get a better idea of how far or how angled or curved that particular form or shape should be. So it's more or less like something. Okay, it goes all the way from this all the way here. So keeping that in mind and then kind of making sure you're kind of matching that with the reference. We'll do that now. So all the way to the back of the eyes. And we still have an arc in here, like a plane in here. So let's do that. So is around, let's see. Okay. So it's around, let's look at our reference. Okay. Mine looks a bit sharp, but it's fine. You can always smooth that out. You can always smooth that out. So kind of smooth that back out. Okay. We have something there now. If you look at the shadows, we have something there now. Not too sharp, but still there. Okay. Another landmark we need to focus on is, let's see. Let's try and get this fold on the lips in there. Okay. Now there's another fold underneath the eyes that we need to establish. This fold underneath the eyes, we need to establish that. We need to establish that fold underneath the eyes, which is this fold in here. This fold in here. So let's do that now. I would be using my, okay, I'll be using the standard brush for that. Let's be sure if, let's know if the eyes is properly lined up in there. I'm not sure our eyes are properly lined up. So I need to max out the bottom part of the eyes. I need to max out the bottom part of the eyes. So I can just work with the top part of the eyes. I use my move topological brush to match this as close as possible. Okay, that feels exaggerated. Supposed to be using this. Okay, trying to figure out where that's supposed to be. Okay, okay, so I think it's supposed to be off. So we kind of carved out a landmark there now. Carved out a landmark in there. No tiny brush. And we'll kind of accentuate that landmark a bit more. Okay. Let's see. Yes, that's brush. I'm not trying to figure out if the brush size is good enough for what I'm about to do. So okay, okay. So now we're just going to follow through. We will just follow through and make sure. I think I will just draw out using my lasso to draw out where that fold should most likely be. Okay, then we'll just build something around there that would hold. Smooth things back out. And to make sure control click on the model, and I'll use my move tool to kind of push this down a bit more to push this down a bit more, kind of create that crease in there. Then use my, I don't want to be too heavy handed on that before it becomes too thick. Use my clay tool to kind of build this in, build something like this in there slightly. And there is like, let me show you guys. Using this reference, I've not dealt with the forehead yet. Not dealt with the forehead. So let's deal with the forehead now. Let's deal with the forehead now because we need something in there. Definitely need something in there. We need to have some. Let's go to standard brush. We need to have something that cuts across like so. I'll smooth that back in, and then we need to have this triangle we have in here now. This triangle we have in here. You need to bring that in. So I already see a visual of what we need in there. So I'm just going to carve that in, holding the Alt key, carve that in. Okay, we're not done yet. It needs to go across like this also. Something like this. So it also cuts across like so. So if you look at the skull structure, if you look at the structure of the skull, so you can get a good idea of what I'm trying to do. If you look at the structure of the skull, we have something like this. As you can see, we have something like a depth here. You have this kind of brow line in here, and kind of like a separator at the center. So we want to try to establish this on our model also. Okay, so we would look for an angled reference of this, so know how high or how much depth we need to put in there. Okay, she does not have, not so much for her, not so much for her, but regardless we need to punch that in there. Let's see if we can get a better angle of it somewhere else. Okay, not so much for her, so I think we can use, not so much for her. Looking at the angle of her face is something that goes all the way like so. We have not really established this part really well. Let's leave that as it is. Then go to our dim standard brush, create that center line, kind of like a center line, kind of. But the line goes like, let me, the line goes like from the center, like so, something like this, kind of cuts in here. So I'm being really gentle on that because she doesn't have so much of that on her face. But I still need to carve that in anyways. Need to carve that in anyways, so you can see. And I'll just add very little, very little of that in there. Zoom out a distance and kind of see how that looks. Okay. Then for the forehead, carve this back in a bit more, and then smooth all of this out. Smooth all of this out. But we still need to have a smooth transition in there, so smooth all of this out. You need to be careful how you smooth those. So now we have kind of like a plane in there, which is exactly what we need. Kind of like a plane in there, exactly what we need. Now for the forehead structure, we need to heighten this part a bit more. I'm not so sure. Okay, smooth this out. Okay, we still haven't worked on our jawline, but that's fine. Let's carry on from here. Everything seems to be working correctly as it should, which is fine. Let's see if we can add a few more things. We already elapsed an hour already, so let's see if there's something else we can still add before we close this chapter and then we continue in another time. Okay, yes, we have like a separator under our jaw. Like I don't know why I call it the separator line. That might not necessarily be the name for it, but let me just call it that for now. Looking for a reference. Okay, we need to carve this in. We need to carve this part in. So this particular reference does not really give me a clear idea of what I should be carving out, but I think I'll use another reference for that. Yes, see this reference now kind of gives me a good idea for what I should carve in. So let me work with this. This neck part is still freaking me out, so let me add something in there. Kind of smooth that out. Okay. And we still need to adjust the proportions for this because this is just all over the place. Okay. I believe this should work just fine. Okay. No. Wrong angle. Okay. So going back in here, let's bring back our reference and kind of get where that cut line should be. So I'll start with the jawline. Let me start with the jawline and use a standard. I'll use the dem standard brush and kind of do a cut like this. And I've used my clay tube, clay brush, kind of building some kind of fat around here slightly. Smooth that back in. Okay. As you can see here, it's more like an S curve, like how do I explain this? But you see the curve down here like so. So I need to create something similar to that also here, and create a depth underneath the lips also. So I'll be using my standard brush for this and try to create that S curve shape. Okay, this will work just fine. Smooth that out. Smooth that out. Then we'll need a sharper one that goes underneath here. A more sharper one, so just create with this with the dem standard brush. Still following that arc movement. Zoom out and see how that pans out. Okay, it's good enough. Kind of smooth that out a bit. Okay, maybe I should leave that sharpness. I can still use the dem standard brush to kind of carve out I'll hold Alt down, kind of carve this back into the lips, back into the lips. It's more of a double line kind of thing. So I'll do another one that goes all the way here. Nope, it makes the lips look bigger than it should be. I think I need to make some adjustments to the lips. Let me be sure I'm using the reference. Let me be sure I'm using the reference so I don't over push things out of proportion. So kind of okay. Then this bottom part of the lips, you always need to go to different angles to make sure you're doing it correctly. If not, it will look good on one angle and look really messed up on another angle. Trying to push this more in. Okay, yeah, I think that should be fine. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Maybe do maybe do push this down slightly more. Okay, maybe do a little lift in here. Okay, supposed to be supposed to be like we have something down here now. Like we have something in here. Like we have something in here in the center of this. Let me just add something similar to that at the bottom part also. Use the Alt key and do a smooth for that. Okay, good. So we're kind of working on different landmarks of the face. There's still a lot of things to cover, but I think for now it's coming out nicely. I think there should be some kind of fat pad around here. So I can use my standard brush to kind of looking at my reference, this fat pad around here, making sure I'm putting the reference as much as I can, and just push something in there. Let's see. Let's see what I've done. I think this thing's poking out too much. I need to push this back in with the smooth brush. Okay. Let's use our clay brush to do this. It's more around here. Let's zoom out and see what we have there. I think it's way off. Something like this. Something like this should work. Yes, this should work. I will just smooth that back in a bit. Okay. Okay. So let's save our file. So we're going to be stopping here. So in the next lesson, we're going to carry on and begin to follow our front reference image and try to carve out the shape as much as we can before we move.